kings and my queens. What's good? It's been about a week, maybe two. I've been kind of busy, but as I share with you all in other videos, make some time to come out in some nature. So I'm back out here at the preserve, around the water, some sun, beautiful blue sky, trees, earth. I'm seeing a lizard in front of me, dragonflies, birds, squirrels. Should be some snakes too, but I haven't run into it yet. So real quick, a friend and I were talking about our experience at the Vipassana retreat in Kaufman, Texas. Um, I can honestly say it was one of the hardest things I've done, but also one of the best things that I've done. Um, it's 10 days. You take a vow of silence. There's no talking. There's no good morning, good afternoon, no excuse me. And once in a while you sneak a look at the person, but other than that, no, you're kind of in your own space, but you're socializing because you see other people with their social distance. All right? There's no engaging. Uh, Vegetarian meals. The there's a men's hall and there's a women's hall. And you really don't see each other except when we come for the group sit in the main meditation hall. And I can say the first 3 or 4 days were hell for me because I've never really meditated. Like I practiced sitting for long periods of time, but I'm sitting for an hour, 20 minutes, and you become very aware with all that silence of everything wrong. At least I did. I was in a lot of pain. My back hurt. My knee would ache, throb. My feet would fall asleep. I couldn't wait for that thing to get done. But as I learned to sit and acknowledge what was happening with me, I experienced that it would pass, or my focus would shift to the noise in my head, my thoughts and whatnot, my fears, my insecurities, my hopes. And when I did that, or when that happened, I wasn't necessarily focused on the discomfort. I struggled really to find comfort. I didn't experience this blissful, I didn't experience that. And that was fine. What I realized was I had become so detached from myself, from awareness of myself, that I had forgotten what it was like to feel genuine pleasure. Why do I share this? Because right now, all that's going on, I have friends, acquaintances, as well as I've seen family members spend a majority of their time, of their day, let's just say it's a 12-hour day, on their mobile devices, on social media, or tuned into the news. And because the focus and attention, the energies are always given to these things that are being fed, their reality is what they're taking in. And what I didn't realize is those 10 days at Kaufman, or 11 days total, but the 10 days at Kaufman was an experience in dopamine detox. I was no longer getting dopamine hits from my phone, from TV, or from the loud noises and stimulus that are constantly bombarding us every day on the outside, in the regular real world, quote unquote. And two things. Because we are so stimulated and getting dopamine releases off of everything, nothing is special to us anymore. Like this beautiful place, in the past I might have passed right by it. And even if I was, I'd be walking consumed in my thoughts. But coming out of that experience of Kaufman, I'm in a place like this, and there's just so much. I see the greens and the clearness of the water and the blue of the sky and the serenity. But those things aren't because of these things. Those things are because I created space for myself to feel that way. So I deleted my social media. Yes, I post on YouTube, and I still use YouTube as more like an encyclopedia. And I even have to manage how often I'm on YouTube because, again, The idea is not to get caught up in the outward things. The idea is really to discover the joy that you have within, the joy that's in here. The beautiful creature that we are, right? So you experience that misery exists within your body. You know, sorry or not sorry. It's part of the natural cycle. It's part of the spectrum of life, of being alive. There are things that are going to be unpleasant. And then there are things that are going to be pleasant. And there are things that you might be indifferent to. But our minds are so conditioned to be led one way or another way by the stimulus, that the stimulus starts pulling our strings as opposed to us observing, acknowledging, and then moving forward. Case in point. You look at me, what do you see? African American, black guy, right? Based off what you see, some of you will make some type of judgment or an assumption. Not to say that some of those judgments and assumptions might not be slightly accurate, but do any of those things really define who I am? No. This is just an avatar. This is just how I'm manifested in this realm. This is not who I am. It's not who I am. These are things about my outward appearance. These are things about me, or what I do, but it's not who I am. So racism, the institution, is an institution that takes someone's ego and their whatever biases they have and plays on it. I don't exactly remember the study, but back when they freed the slaves, and you had the poor whites and the newly freed black folk sharecropping, living on the land, it was the biggest fear of the authorities at that time that those two parties would unite. Why? Because they're going to the same church, the kids are playing together, they start marrying, intermingling, and they realized that a human being will take almost any abuse heaped upon them as long as they feel better than someone else. So racism, the institution, was developed and created. And now with the media, what do they keep throwing in our face? Racism, 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 racism. I tell you, when you finish turning watching the TV, finish watching all that stuff, do you feel better? Do you feel happier? Do you feel a sense of hope? No, you feel kind of more distraught, if anything. Turn it off. Turn it off, and then decide how you want to be and who you are the very next moment. Do you want to live defined and limited by what society has said exists and what's reality? Hold on. Seriously, think about it. If we didn't perpetuate it and we didn't subconsciously buy into this thing and feed it, would it continue to exist? So you'll say, oh no, people always feel that way. No, that's bull. Because if you go to a park right now, anywhere in the world, and you have children under a certain age, you put them around each other, those kids are not going to see that separation. They're going to see a boy or girl that they can play with. They can play handball, stickball, baseball, hide and go seek, make forts, soldiers, whatever, jacks. I don't care. That child does not separate. We are so pure when we're at that stage. What happens? We become conditioned with what society tells us is real. And that limits us. We define ourselves by what society tells us is real, not by what the heart says. The heart sees no separation. The heart acknowledges distinction. Because if it was all the same, it could not be appreciated. So yes, we have different hues and different tongues, ethnicities, if you will, cultural norms. But these are things that are meant to be appreciated. These are not I'm better than or they're less than. I can't be, no. These are just distinctions to be appreciated, to see the variety of life, to be enjoyed, swam in the jello, if you will. But when it becomes a problem,